Everyone, and welcome to another weekly check-in vlog where I take you along for the weekend to see how I'm doing and what I'm reading. My name is Wiebke, and this year I'm trying to get myself out of survival mode. And this weekend there are quite a lot of things I need to do, I should do, and that I want to do. Basically, I need to deal with reality and intrusive work thoughts and overthinking my current situation or current job situation. I should do a lot of cleaning. I already did some. Basically, I changed my bedding and vacuumed, but I'm not sure if I can give myself credit for that or if that should go to the dead spider I found under my pillow this morning. But more cleaning should happen during the weekend, and what I basically want to do is finish all the books I'm reading. So I don't really know if there's enough time in this weekend. It's going to be rainy probably and thunderstorms, so at least I'm not tempted to go out on that much, but I am going for a run now. I am not so sure how far or well I can run. I donated blood plates yesterday morning and I'm feeling a little bit exhausted still, which is normal after donating blood plates. I'm currently listening to a nonfiction, Daily Rituals, Women at Work, and I like it, but it's very fast-paced, short chapters. It's basically going through a lot of artists and describing briefly their habits and how they worked. And it's a follow-up book. The same author wrote that about non-specific gender, but it was mostly focused on men, and he noticed that afterwards later that probably women work differently, and so he thought a whole book for women was needed, which I think is good. And I would not recommend listening to it, even though I'm enjoying it. I think it would be a nice coffee table book where you can flip through, read a chapter here and there every now and again. I'm not reading that way, so that usually doesn't work for me, but I like the idea of having a book where you dip in and out every now and again and you get some informative chapter. And this would definitely be that, because some chapters are probably just a few pages as it's only a few minutes. And it's interesting. So, see you after my run. Seriously, what's wrong with me? I just wanted to film my June wrap up and my battery is empty because I forgot to check beforehand with the other camera. And yeah, so I am charging the battery. And what am I doing instead? Using the break in the rainfall to go to the city and buy a book. I ordered a book because I saw it on Nathan's Nook channel, and yeah, I got curious, so I ordered a book. And this time I'm going to remember to take the voucher. And I'm also going to take the short stories by Graham Swift, 12 Post-War Tales, to read more, or at least one other short story, and maybe do some food shopping on the way, or get food. One of those things. My run this morning was okay-ish. I ran 5K. I didn't go very far, but the run was good. And then it started to rain as soon as I got home, and I basically did nothing for the last 2 hours, but watched some YouTube, eat breakfast, and wallow in self-pity. Shall I tell you about the job situation? I'll probably edit it out again, just like all the other weeks before. But I changed jobs in my own department. So I knew what I was getting into, and I knew that it wouldn't be a dream job, and it gets me further away from how I actually want to work, because it's less working with people, which I like, but it's the opportunity and the job that is available, and it does pay more money, and it has me doing stuff and learning something new as compared to what I've been doing for about a year now. And listening to Daily Rituals, Women at Work, had me realize how much I miss a flexible routine, more being control of my own time and my life and my tasks, and doing something I'm actually passionate about, or at least interested in doing. So that is a little bit complicated. It's basically what I need to figure out is a way of a mind shift to not be me. Yeah, that's the solution for most of my problems, not be me. Another thought I had was that I feel like in those stories where you find a genie or you meet someone who's granting you wishes and they give you what you want, but there's always a little glitch, something is off a little bit so that it's not perfect or that you didn't phrase your wish right. And I feel like that a lot of times when it comes to my work life, that I am not in a position where I can say I never get what I wanted. But I also find out very often that even though it's what I wanted, it comes with a caveat. That sounds like a very luxurious problem to have. Yeah, it is, sort of. Doesn't make it less confusing and annoying and exhausting. So let's go book shopping. And it's Sunday morning. I don't know, yesterday did not go according to plan. Everything changed. My friend called and we went cycling, running. She runs, I cycle, and we just chatted away for about half the afternoon. Then I went into town and picked up my book. And yeah, in German we say you can't stand on one leg, so I got two books again. The one I ordered was the Möbius book by Catherine Lacey, and the only thing I remember is that you can start it on either side. So it reminds me a little bit of Ali Smith's both of them? Ooh, I'll put a picture up here. That you could also read from one side or from the other side, and you get two persons' story around the same topic. And I'm thinking it's something similar. And yeah, Nate got me to buy it. So I'm hoping to read that next week when I'm hopefully a little bit less stressed. And I also saw the second book in the Kawagami Food Detectives, the restaurant of the Lost Recipes. And in the first book, it was just sweet stories of people coming to the restaurant saying about a memory they had of a food, and then the restaurant recreating it. And I hope this is something like that. It's very short and simple. It'll go on the stack for when I need something nice. Other than that, I read a few stories in Graham Swift's 12 Post-War Tales. And it's usual for Graham Swift to flashbacks are his mode of operandi, and he's going through nostalgia and people living in the now, remembering or reminiscing about something in the past and telling that, and usually it affects the present. And we had two more stories that were very nice, flowy, and yeah, I noticed that I love his writing style. I feel very cozy in his writing and very comfortable with the characters, and whatever happens, even if it's tough topics, it's just the way he writes, I immensely enjoy. And going away or leaving the stories, I never felt lost. Other than with the David Foster Wallace short story collection I'm reading, The Girl with the Curious Hair. I finished the first 3 stories in that, and his writing style is completely different. It's more abstract, more clean, more emotionless. Graham Swift works with the emotions of his characters, and he brings out, even though it's not emotional, flowery language, he brings out the emotional connection of his characters to the things that they are talking about and experiencing. Whereas in the 3 stories I read by David Foster Wallace, they were clear-cut. The language in the first story was very short sentences, very factual, even though there were high emotions happening. The first story worked with a lot of flashbacks, jumping around in time, and the story was not told linear. The second story had long, endless sentences, and it was more of 2 characters, very linear, and nothing much happening. But the building was a third character in that story. And the last story that I finished this morning in bed was a mixture of both, where we had a narrator that shifted perspective, or the way he looked in my mind, or the way I thought of him as a character, shifted along the story the more we found out about him. And also the events were very dryly told, very emotionless. The sentences didn't strike me as extra short or extra long, but everything was just presented by this one narrator in an interesting way, in a very distanced way. And that is completely different already to Graham Swift. But what's also different is that why I usually don't really go for short story collections is the idea of being thrown into a story and then leaving it in the middle of it, which doesn't really feel like it with Graham Swift's collection. But David Foster Wallace apparently embraced the American short story of throwing you into a story and then leaving on a cliffhanger. The story this morning ended with the words, "And here's what I did." How can you do that? How? How is that possible? And yeah, I'm not versed enough to really look at short stories and analyze them. I never come across that in a way that I feel comfortable and I really understand it. So maybe I need to look that up a little bit, of how to interpret and really read those stories by David Foster Wallace, because I haven't come across this type of really clear-cut middle of the stories, short stories, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it even though it's challenging. And yeah, it's late in the morning. I guess you can hear all the birds outside. They're flying and chirping. And it's a little bit sunnier today than yesterday. I got quite a lot of sleep, so I'm feeling a little less tired and moody. And I also decided for next week, the way to go is probably to be less me and go with the flow, which I'm not really good at when I don't know the flow. But when it comes to work, I guess the solution is always be less me, expect less, and just try to get through it. And it probably has to get worse before it gets better. Not sure about that. Another thing I already did this morning was film my June wrap-up, which I now have to edit before I'm leaving. And I want to read at least 2 more stories in Graham Swift's collection. I'm not sure if I can finish the collection. The day is not long enough for that, but maybe another story or 2. I'm not going to finish David Foster Wallace collection. The next story, my Kindle says, is about 2 hours long. I probably need the whole week to finish that. Maybe I can tell you next week. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that now and see what happens later. Honestly, I've reached my limit. I thought going out for a walk would help and I could finish my audiobook, but for some reason my phone says there's no audiobook downloaded, and I could listen to it for about half an hour and now I have 10 minutes left and it just stopped, said there's a download error, and I have no clue what's going on. I'm basically completely exhausted and feel like lying down, not doing anything. I read another short story in Graham Swift's book, which was nice, and yeah, it's 3 p.m. maximum, maybe not even. And I'm going home. Ending the vlog. Thank you all for bearing with me with all these boring vlogs lately. I feel like I used to be more interesting, and hopefully getting through next week will be hard, but after that I think things are going to go up again and things will be better, hopefully. And let's see, I need to catch up on a few things next week to feel better about myself and everything. Let me know in comments how your weekend was. Did you read anything nice? Did you do anything nice? Thank you for watching.